Good morning, folks. We're starting with a predicted earthquake ramp striking 6.5 in Japan, but only if you buy the USGS downgrade from about 10 readings of 6.8, including the primary readers highlighted, along with a 7.1 manual reading. We mentioned the factors that raised the watch, but now we can look back and identify the Earthspot connection on the typhoon's path and with a remnant low directly overhead during the earthquake. Come out swinging here, folks. If you have a Wall Street Journal subscription, great. Otherwise, you won't be able to read this article, but it describes just how easily computer models are fudged and made to show what their superiors want to see, especially when it came to global warming. Sorry, Yellowstone clamorers, here are the facts. Every year there is an uptick of seismicity and geothermal activity, and every year people freak out. This year was worse because the seasonal animal migration coincided with an uptick and the people claimed the animals were fleeing. Nonsense. Now people are freaking out about the roads melting, and I had to admit that was kind of concerning until I did about 30 seconds of searching on Google and found this happening almost every year since the internet was here. Seriously, when Yellowstone stops releasing pressure and goes quiet for a few years, that's when you worry. BBC, do you know what happens when the people we're supposed to trust most betray that trust in a terrible way? I can give you the names of some nefarious clergymen if you like. A bit of seriousness here. Lake visitors need to be on alert for the algae. It's often harmless, but sometimes it can be deadly enough to kill people and pets. Here's our latest Uyen storm, heading west, on track to come right over the Philippines if it makes it that far. Convergence remains in New Zealand with some more showers in the northwest as well here. You can see the purple rain potential spinning here around clearly formed low-pressure cells, which are also nicely in purple on the pressure overlay. Everything here depends on that Canadian low before it brings absurd cold to the region next week. Its lead northern flow from the Gulf is bringing the severe weather right into the States and north across the border. Yet another gamma ray burst. This makes 4 in 3 days and about a 2-week increase in activity. Sunspots on a major decline here. The incoming groups are fading and magnetically separated. Meanwhile, surprise, surprise, the big boys are regaining a bit of magnetic complexity here as they turn. They've held their breath while facing our planet and are about ready to pop when they clear out. No flaring of note, and the solar wind is fairly steady as well, just some slight variations picked up by the more sensitive meters here. Remember, at some point tomorrow we do expect a tiny interplanetary shockwave from a releasing filament on the north. It will be relatively minor. I'm actually more concerned about the coronal hole anyway. If you're wondering why we keep discussing Earthspots, it's born of our long-standing pressure convergence Earth flare hypothesis morphing due to what Dr. Uyen has brought to the table. It's under electric Earth and Sun, and there are some pretty solid foundations there for the hypothesis, especially for some of the connections via similar atmospheric forms between the Earth and our Sun. I also tossed some good background items on there at the bottom, Dr. Uyen's presentation and that of Dr. Claridge as well. Both of those can also be found here on YouTube. If you got $3 to spare, I'd humbly suggest that it and the other content on the site are pretty worth your while. Shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear at 6:25 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.